No matter how painful it might be, that's the story behind the new book, Winter of the Wolf. And Jordan is standing by to learn more.
Yes, and the author of Winter of the Wolf is Martha Hunt Handler, and she's joining us this morning from New York. Good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And congratulations on writing your first novel. First, before we talk about the book, let's briefly talk about your background, because it is your personal story, some of your experiences in life that actually inspired this book, even your work working with wolves. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I grew up in Illinois, northern Illinois, very rural, lots of beautiful woodlands around my house, and I would go exploring by myself all the time. And I could actually hear the voices of plants and animals. And when I shared this with others, I realized no one else was hearing what I was hearing. And I sort of thought, well, I should be a voice for nature, must be what I'm here for. And I wrote my first novel when I was 7. It was about a runaway bunny. I showed it proudly to my father, who told me that it wasn't a very good story and writers don't make any money and can't support themselves. So I literally just walked away from writing. Instead, I became an environmental consultant and wrote technical papers for like 20 years. But it never felt very heart fulfilling at all. So I always was kind of in search of like, what am I really supposed to be doing? Because that did not seem like it was it. And then when I was 42, my best friend called me to tell me that she found her 12-year-old son hanging from a belt.
Oh, no.
And it was beyond shocking. His mother and I had both grown up very spiritually. We believed in reincarnation, but we couldn't make any sense of Brendan dying at the age of 12. And I was really at a loss of what I could do as a friend to try to help her through this, because it was a really awful time. And then I went to her son's funeral and realized just how different suicides are, that there's a lot of blame and shame and guilt. Everyone was asking her, you know, if he was so depressed, why didn't she get him some help? Why wasn't he seeing a therapist? Why wasn't he on meds? And the truth was, he was a really happy, easygoing kid, very popular, loads of friends. There didn't seem to be any indication that he would take his life. And then a few months later, I was ice skating on a lake near my house, and I found this deer that had become frozen into the lake surface. And I stood there. I could not move from the spot for some reason. And I started hearing Brendan's voice, and he told me he wanted me to write his story.
Wow.
And as crazy as that sounds, I started writing. I actually every day sat and wrote. And it took me another 18 years to finally complete this novel. But along the journey, it became clear to me that my purpose here in this lifetime is to be a voice for nature, to try to move people from a place of grief to one of gratitude and growth, and to compel people to listen to their intuition. So my Winter of the Wolf is not Brendan's story. He was there with love and guidance, but it's not anything to do really except for the way the death happens. Instead, my story follows Bean, who's an empathic and spiritually evolved 15-year-old girl who's determined to unravel the mystery of her brother's death. All the evidence points to a suicide, but her heart and intuition compel her to dig deeper. And she enlists her best friend to help her retrace her brother's last steps, to delve into his Inuit beliefs, which he was a huge believer in, the connection with nature and Inuit, and to reconnect with their spiritual beliefs, to uncover what happened to her brother. So it's a mystery, so I don't want to really tell you that because I want you
basically set up the story.
I know it sounds like a real bummer of a story, but I love that one reviewer recently wrote, despite the grave beginnings, Winter of the Wolf soars to a hopeful finish that left me feeling fulfilled and inspired.
Yes.
So that's my goal.
That's your story. And you know, Martha, you actually pretty much said it for yourself. I mean, you wrote this book. It was something that was inside of you since, a child writing it, and you've, used your gifts and your personal experiences to come up with this beautiful book, Winter of the Wolf. And I know a lot of folks out there may be interested in picking it up. It is available on Amazon.com, or the best way to also go and maybe learn more about Martha's story and her personal experiences and how this book really ties into all of that and the spirituality. Tell us your website so we can go and check that out as well.
It's MarthaHuntHandler.com.
All right, we've got more coming up here on Good Day. Again, Winter of the Wolf is that new book that is available right now. We'll have all the information up on our screen. We'll be right